we are again. Here's the cool Corvette project. And I'm actually ready for paint, so I'm kind of dogging my painter right now. But anyway, what I've done since the last time is we actually have the original grille all assembled, and then we made brackets from the grille that bolt to the steel structure of the frame, not to the body. So we've deleted the original Corvette frame that would go around the grille, and we've completely glassed this in. I believe we had talked about this last time we were working on that, but it's roughed in a little bit better. So the grille is actually mounted on the steel structure of the frame and not hanging on the body. We've got the factory headlights, parking lights in. We've got a special custom radiator that was built. Big aluminum radiator, and if you look through the grille or look up there, you can see I've got twin fans. I chose to put pusher fans because of the distance with the large engine and the small engine compartment. I didn't want to be too tight, so I felt the pusher fans would be worth using. Steering box and column, they're in. Now I might have had those in before, but they're in and set up and even mounted to the dash, which we'll cover in a minute. All the steering linkage is set up. Brake lines, the rubber lines are installed with a caliper and mounted to the frame, so it's ready for the steel lines. Felt I would do that after we paint the body. And then we added a drive shaft loop, not only for safety of the drive shaft, but it actually ties the two frame rails together. And a drive shaft loop's always good if you've got there's no strength in this fiberglass floor panel. So I like that, but it gives us a lot more strength. And then that is welded in. And I also took advantage of this location and I drilled holes through the drive shaft loop up into the body. And that's what's gonna hold my seat belts on the inside. So we're not bolting just to the body, we're bolting to the structure. These are the parking brake cables, made special mounts. Custom cables go up to a nice little chrome lever that's bolted on the back of the tail shaft of the transmission. So it's a solid location and not throwing loads into the body. Made a rear cross member, which actually is serviceable, unbolts. It ties not only the frame together, but it also, this will have rubber mounts in this area, so it also picks up the back of the body and gives us a little more strength. So what we'll do now, well, there's the back bumpers around. That's kind of a nice feature. Those are original bumpers, and it's original license plate mount. You can see that we filled the where the original exhaust goes. Can't use that. Let me drop it down. So we've got original tail lights mounted.
Looks great.
Got the original key lock functional for the trunk.
Nice.
Made some modifications in the trunk. In fact, we even did some modifications to the key lock just to make it a little more accessible. But the hinges are all working properly. The key lock, the latch, we reinforced where the original spare tire would go, and the reason for that is that I have a steel battery mount that's going to bolt there, and the battery is going to be mounted in the rear just to pull a little weight to the back of the car. So that is all functional. We've got the rear deck functional, and what we've done here on top of the gas tank, in fact that's an original gas tank. I put a different sender for just a newer style fuel gauge, and then we also made a kind of a fuel catch on the bottom to just assure that we have adequate fuel to the electric pumps. There are going to be two pumps. We made brackets to go over the fuel tank, and these are very structural. And then what that does is support hood pins. We're just going to have hood pins on this. Now with all the power and the twisting that I anticipate here, I wanted a little more strength. So that becomes all structural now. And you can see the holes down here. That's actually what goes through the drive shaft loop. You see I have the column in. That's functional. We have a bracket bolted to the dash to hold that end of the column. And in this area, this initially was a separate piece that is padded and bolts on the factory car. What we decided to do for strength is totally glassed this piece onto the dash. We glassed in the complete dash assembly. We glassed and filled where the chrome would be. There would have been chrome where the original windshield frame would go, and this chrome would continue around this rear deck and down the sides of the glove box. All of this would have been separate chrome pieces. So what we did is we filled and we molded, and this is all going to be part of the fiberglass body and painted. And then the other thing we did for this chopped windshield, this is just a piece of polycarbonate. I wanted something light, simple, chopped. I didn't want a bunch of gaudy chrome. I want to make it as light as possible. We filled this area with resin and cloth. This had a little dip. This had risers in here for original wipers. It had a vent in the center. We actually filled everything flush with the dash. So we created a nice, smooth, flat panel here. And what we did is we created a slot in here for the windshield.
Nice.
So the windshield fits in without a big gaudy frame. I mean, again, it's a dragster. And the way this is in here, it's kind of unique. What I did is this is polycarbonate, so you can drill and you can bend this stuff cold. There's safety wire that goes down through the cowl, and it's wired to a piece of steel through a hole. And there's several locations on this. So I can change this windshield. We're going to install it with a gasket. So I can make any windshield I want and change it, you know, just for fun. I mean, it's that simple now. The doors we have also functional. All the hardware in there making the doors work. The hinge is working properly. The latch system, and then I handmade my own release system here, which is very similar to stock. But I wanted something just very simple and pretty tough.
So these are factory hinges?
Those are factory hinges.
Wow.
But getting everything to work properly, that's the other deal. That's all factory stuff. And the factory latch system on the body. Factory release system on the door.
Nice.
And then I handmade a linkage, and I made these levers here, so it's very simplistic, pretty close to the stock location. And now when the door is shut, basically reach over the door. I mean, there's not going to be a top, so that's simple enough.
Nice.
And you can see I have the pedals in there. Got the classic Gasser gas pedal that's actually hooked up.
Very cool.
So they're actually mounted to the superstructure.
Wow.
They're not mounted to the body at all. And then it averages out also with that bracket down to the column. Kind of ties it all together. So it's very serviceable. And then there's 3 cylinders that actually go up in here on the inside of the car. So there's nothing sticking through the firewall. 1 cylinder is for the hydraulic clutch. Has a hydraulic throwout bearing, which is actually in clutch assembly. The real trans, everything is intact. And then the other 2 cylinders are for the brakes. And there'll be a rocker between the 2 cylinders. Instead of having a proportioning valve, you can actually adjust the amount of fluid going to the front of the car or the back of the car. It's more efficient, more adjustable. You know, we're not going to hear the radio, so I made a radio delete. And that's all they had, was just kind of a basic plate. That's a piece of stainless steel. We've got a couple of studs on the back. These are trimmed out for newer gauges, but they still have the old look. The original speedometer fits in there. The original grills for the speaker, they fit in there. We had to make sure all of that fits, so when it goes to the painter, it doesn't come back with issues. The hood latch is actually like the back deck. These are just hood pins.
Okay.
Typical dragster. But we reworked, modified the original, well, they're really an aftermarket hinge. You see everything is functional now.
Wow.
We even reinforced the hood in this area because of the hole we sliced.
Yes.
You can see the gas pedal linkage coming through the firewall. We did that totally mechanical because we're at a 50s car. You know, they didn't have a lot of cable stuff, so I wanted to be a little more period correct. And this was a little tricky too, but we were able to cut the hood so that we can clear the big Dominator air filter. So the air filter stays on, and you can lift the hood and it clears it. So it's very serviceable.
So this linkage, when the engine is like jumping from side to side, is that?
Well, everything can move. These are ball joints. These are rod ends. Everything can move, but it's all mechanical.
That's very nice. You can see the steering box.
And you can see the I
Radiator.
had the radiator custom built without a fill cap, because you see the radiator actually sits below the engine. So I've got this special piece here where the thermostat would go, and that's where the fill is going to be.
Interesting.
At the highest point. Very
Interesting.
simple. Very simple.
Very interesting.
And then we reworked, I don't know if you can see from that side, but the other side would be better. The heavy duty engine mounts that I made, it looked like we had a little interference on the water pump, so I sawed the post fitting off on the other side and put it on an angle.
Oh yeah.
It came out straight. I mean, it really wasn't designed for that massive mount, but you know, I wanted everything to be very serviceable. We chose to just change that angle. And we reinforced the body where the hood pins actually go through the firewall.
Right here.
So we distributed the load. That's built up with 3 layers of fiberglass cloth.
Gotcha.
On top of the existing. These are nice looking little scoops. They're really kind of a cowl vent. Would have a lever inside, but most of them are not functional, but I like the way they look.
Looks really good, Kerry.
Yeah, it's come a long way.
And what color are you going to paint it?
You know, I considered a lot of colors, but long story short, I decided to paint it turquoise.
Is it similar to that color in the sign?
Very similar to that, yeah.
That'll look really cool.
Yeah, it'd be a nice, kind of an old school, like I think the '57 Chevrolet had that. Kind of an early